Recording in progress.
One person on.
before we kick off, just a little bit of housekeeping. So remember, guys, please go to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/The Great Black Detox. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and click on notifications. And it's where you can actually see replays of these sessions. So if you have to subscribe, you can get on there to see the whole replays. On YouTube for free, you don't even charge for that. There's no right there.
That's right. Good to see everybody who's here so far. A few of you, and you keep on coming up with these phrases that brings me right back to the 80s. Posse, you know.
Listen, well, wussy. I feel we're posse, well, wussy. For the Caribbean people in the crowd. Shout out to everyone on all my fans on Dr. Amsu's live. I don't know why I keep joining your live. Just join the call. If you want to jump onto the Zoom, the link is in Dr. Amsu's bio. Click on the link tree right at the top there. There's a GBD Clinic button. Click on that bad boy. It'll bring you probably straight into the call. You can't be that. Likewise, for those of you on YouTube, I'll share the link out in YouTube in a second. I think guys on YouTube are just seeing that banner right now. We're going to get the feed into YouTube. There we go. I think it's going to jump in there now. So again, guys, if it's first time here, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask the questions. We really appreciate if you unmute your cameras and unmute your mics when it's time for you to ask your question to Dr. Hamsu or the team. You can raise your hand in Zoom. Let us know you have a question. In the bottom, there's a participation button. Click on that, and then you can raise your hand. Let us know you have a question. You can wave at the camera. We may see you. Probably we will see you, depending on how many people on the main screen. Let us know. I see you. And or, of course, you can let us know in the chat. And the chat is available to everyone right there in Zoom. So, let's just kick off, man. We're going to end up talking about a whole bunch of stuff anyway. But if we've got people that have questions, they're on the call. Oh, also, firstly, thanks to everyone that sent questions in by email. We do try and respond to those emails within the day. Sometimes within minutes you may get an answer. Sometimes we may have to pass it around a bit depending on what people tell us, because people do tell us quite a bit, don't they, Dr. Amsu, in the emails. But listen, we're here for you guys, and sometimes some people want to be a bit more discreet, or sometimes it just comes to you during the day. You have a question, drop the question into social media. You can message us on Instagram at the Great Black Detox. You can message us on Facebook at The Great Black Detox. You can drop us an email at support@greatblackdetox.com 24/7. You can send the questions 24/7. You may not get the answer 24/7. But anytime you think of something, rather than, if you're not going to write it down, and rather than waste it or, potentially forget it by the Thursday call, just drop it in to us via electronic means, and we will get back to you within a reasonable time frame. So we're trying to offer that service to you guys. So again, I know a lot of people have questions at random times. Those of you in IG, I'll be trying to monitor that in a few minutes as well. And let's kick off. So Marva, what's up, darling? Where are you this week? You got all these cool backdrops behind you. Looks like you're in West London.
No, I am in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay, Brooklyn, West London, similar. Different color bricks, but it's pretty much.
When I first started coming to the States, a lot of people thought I was from Brooklyn by the way I dressed. Like now, mate.
The Timbs, innit?
Northwest London,
mate. You were in Tim's Labor Day, right?
you know, there's mistaken identity.
Right.
Nigga, you owe me money. It's like, nah, man, from London, mate. Put it out there. But Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn Bridge. I got a picture of Brooklyn Bridge in my office, in fact, Marva. So I'm a Brooklynite at heart.
Okay, good, great.
So what can we do for you today, Marva?
I was just trying to see if my hands, you could see me.
Oh, you were just practicing your hands. Okay, yeah. Well, we can confirm that your hands are working, and our digital receptors are picking your hands up, and so you are in good stead, Marva. Thank you very much for validating our system for us.
Yeah, good.
So how are you feeling though, Marva? I know you've been doing a bunch of different things, detoxes and trying to change your lifestyle. How's it been?
It's good. There's a lot of changes, but I have to continue because for the last month I've been like bad eating. Because I'm moving, I haven't been cooking.
Right.
And but as from Monday, I'm gonna start back a detox and get back into compliance. The numbers are still a little high, but maybe it's the stress from moving.
Yeah. So So Marva, I'm sure last time you were on here, we talked about this and how it's, it can take a little time to get into that new routine, right? To get into that new mindset of how to eat, when to eat, so on and so forth. And, you've been living one way for your whole life. And so, yeah, we understand it. It takes a little time to transition. But here's the great thing about where you are. In engineering, we have something called feedback. And I guess everyone understands what feedback is that when you do something and that thing you do lets you know straight away whether or not it likes it. Our bodies give us feedback. And when you've cleansed and done a detox, your body's kind of, is closer to sort of being a blank slate than it ever has been, right? For a very long time, at least. So then when you eat something, your body tells you pretty quickly, man, you shouldn't have eaten that. Or, man, that felt great after eating that. I didn't have any problems. There was no constipation. I passed it well. I can eat more of that. It doesn't do anything. I didn't break out. But when you're eating things and then you're slowing down, you're sluggish, you're feeling lethargic, you break out in a rash, clumps of hair are falling out, you got this strange itch on inside your nose you can't pinpoint. These are all signals our body's feedback mechanism is telling us that, there's something you've imbibed, something in your environment, and, it may be something on your skin, something around your location that it isn't agreeing with you. So even if you're not an expert in, dietary concerns and things like that, use those signals to tell yourself, man, I need to lay off meat, or I need to lay off, wine gums or whatever. I don't know, whatever your vice might be. You say you're eating badly. We got a friend, the guy eats
wine gums.
What's some sugary wine gums he eats with the salt on it?
You're just an 80s guy. Wine gums.
You got an affinity to Mojos or something. Your body's going to give you the feedback and say, Marva, allow that. You understand? And so you can use that guide. And
yes, I do get headaches if I eat anything. Do get headaches.
Yeah.
I don't normally get headaches. I get the reaction from it.
From which, when you eat what, wine gums?
No, I don't know what is wine gums.
Okay. What gives you headaches?
Like anytime I eat anything that I'm not supposed to eat since after I detox.
Right.
And here's the thing, Marva. There are metabolic processes are vast. There's so many, we have billions of metabolic processes that happen every second in our bodies, right? So it's a involuntary process that determines how our bodies work chemically, right? How we utilize energy, how we process nutrients, right? How we discard toxins or unwanted substances. And here's the thing. We are under attack, right? We are literally in a food war, right? Majority of the substances that we ingest are not for ingestion, right? And we look towards so-called governmental bodies such as the FDA to protect us, to look out for us, look out for our nutrient interest, right, in our well-being. But the fact is they don't. The FDA does not look out for our well-being. So there are poisons that are put into the market by big food industry, right? Within the food industry, you have these companies and they will put stuff into their food, so-called food, that they test. The FDA doesn't test it. They test it, and then they say it's safe for consumption. And this might be in the form of candy, and more often than not, it is in candy, right? And in stuff that we give to our children. And in our children, their neurological system is not fully developed. Their brain and central nervous system does not develop fully until early adulthood, right? Right? Maybe it's debatable whether it's by the time you turn 18 or by the time you turn 25, right? The brain and central nervous system are still developing. So it's very delicate, right? And we're given foods and things that we grew up, like stock cubes, right? For instance, any household you go into, right? In order to flavor food, you're gonna get some form of stock cubes. Here's an 80s one for you. Oxo, right? Oxo.
Maggi.
Right. All of those. And what's the ones in Africa?
Maggie cube we talked about.
Maggie cubes, right? Where MSG known excitotoxins, right? These are known neurotoxins. When we say excitotoxins, we're talking about neurotoxins. The colors that they use in foods, the additives, the preservatives. A lot of these substances are well known to cause cancer, to cause neurological, psychological, behavioral issues, conditions, right? Chronic conditions, but they're still allowed into the foodstuffs by the FDA. They get a green light, they get a tick, a check. And this is what we're dealing with. So when we're evangelizing our message and saying, look, stop eating this food, right? It's for your well-being. Now, a lot of people get upset. Well, what can I eat? And like, it's our fault. It's not our fault. We're looking out for you. But there's things that we as adults don't want our children to consume. We don't want them partaking in smoking or drinking or drugs, right? But we'll buy them treats. And in their treats, there are cancer-causing substances. There are neurological neurotoxins that we give them. Then they end up on Ritalin or some other behavioral correction type of pharmaceutical, right? They get into trouble at school, right? We're called up and we have to take time off work to go and deal with their crap, right? But we feed it to them. So when we talk about it ain't food, the stuff that ain't food, that are in the Takis, that are in the Cheetos, that are in the stock cubes, the stuff that's in the bleach and in the household chemicals that we use, we're pointing all these things out so that we can have a better community, a healthier community, right? And remember, there's the psychological counterpart to physiological disorders, right? So every time when we eat stuff that's not good for us physically, it's taking its toll on us mentally as well, right? And people get upset with us when we're just the messenger, right? But not only are we the messenger, we actually have alternatives. We have solutions. So when we say, don't go back to what you were eating before, because it makes doing a detox redundant if you're not trying to improve your lifestyle. So people who detox and then go back to their old habits and then detox again, go back to their old habits, it's not a good look at all. It's breaking you down. All right, the detox and the taking of the supplements can somewhat stall the inevitable, but the inevitable is still on its way because you're still partaking in those things. So, no, I'm not having a go at you per se, but whenever we hear people say, I ate some stuff I shouldn't have, right? It's like, you know better. And you have to take on the responsibility that I'm going to do better. Because I know better, I'm going to do better. And it's on your own health. All the pathological outcomes, we're giving you education so that you can avoid those pathological outcomes, those pathological variances, right? From all the toxins. So we do research so that you don't necessarily have to go research it for yourself, right? If you trust us that the information that we're giving you is correct, right? Please follow our recommendations. Please follow our recommendations. Avoid the stuff that we're saying to you. Do not eat this. Don't give your children candy. Don't give them turkeys. Don't give them the chips. You don't eat the chips. Don't give them the sodas with all the flavorings and the colors and the Ease for Living, whatever it is, or Ease, whatever that book is that's been going around since I think like the late 70s. It's been out there. Yet we still do it.
Yeah. And something interesting as well for all of you. Big up to everyone that's on the call that's been intermittent fasting. And if you've been intermittent fasting for a while, you'll realize that after a time, you stop craving at certain times of day. and you stop craving certain snacks. You know, once in a while you just get a feeling for something, and there's lots of reasons for that, psychological reasons as well as other triggers in the mouth and things like that. But here's the thing, sometimes you don't have to eat. You see, what, and I'm gonna say what I've struggled with in the past, right, is boredom, habit. All right, it's 3 o'clock, so I need to get a snack. You know, I used to work in an office and they had free coffee and, well, pretty much free coffee. So you get bored at your desk. You thought, let me go and get some coffee. I had half cups of undrunk coffee on my desk because I would go, it's really a ritual. But here's the thing, I can't remember what coffee it was. It might be an Nescafe or something. I'd get it and I'd put, you know, they had some kind of creamer or something, or, you know, obviously it wasn't real milk, but then I'd get 4, 5, 6 packets of sugar and put in this coffee to make it extra sweet. I'll take 3 sips, it would sit by my desk, and then an hour later I'd go and get another one.
The vending machine as well.
The vending machine. Yeah. So throughout the course of the day, out of boredom, I was just knocking back coffees. It wasn't quality coffee, it was white sugar, and it was fake milk.
It wasn't Blue Mountain.
It wasn't Blue Mountain. It's the last thing I would have needed. But here's the thing, now I don't drink coffee. We have tea in the office. We drink, you know, non-caffeinated herbal teas and things like that. Once in a while, you know, we'll have the tall, small Manuka honey. It will last here 2 weeks because we don't snack like that. And if we do snack occasionally, it might be some plantain chips or some pistachios or something like that. But
I gotta call you out there, Mikey. I got to call you out.
Go on.
The Manuka honey lasts 3 days. Could this man finish it off?
You know what's funny?
3 days.
You know what's funny?
We get the Manuka, and you know Manuka honey ain't cheap. It's expensive. This man done the Manuka honey in 3 days, and then he'll be like, I've never had tea before.
Cannot believe that you would bring this out on national TV, because I want to hot you up. Because everyone that works here knows, if you ever, you know, there's a camera by the kitchen, right? You didn't know that.
It's not me.
And Dr. Amsa used tablespoons of Manuka honey in his tea. Listen, you know, you got a problem. You know that, right? You got some kind of Manuka gut or something. Probably some new condition that's been
Manuka gut.
hitherunto undiscovered. Manuka gut. But anyway, guys, so why we really recommend intermittent fasting, because Dr. Amsley talks about this, Dr. Keeler's talked about this, is the snacking, right? And what snacking does. And here's I think the pernicious thing about snacking is it's just a little snack, right? It's just a bite of something. It's a little cookie bar. It's a what do you call it? A cookie. It's a small packet of peanuts. But Dr. Amsley, real quick, just to sort of recap what we talked about a week or so ago, maybe Dr. Keeler may want to jump into this. What is it? Why is snacking so bad, right? You know, I'm just having a handful of peanuts. Why is that a problem? You know, surely that's not going to put any weight on me. It's, you know, it's nothing, right?
Well, snacking is going to put weight on you, because when you snack, you are initiating an insulin cycle, right? So you eat, and from what you eat, sugars are produced, right? And more time when we snack, we're eating starchy stuff. We're eating stuff that has sweeteners in it, right? Because especially in the United States, everything's got sugar in it when it's a snack, right? So this is a sweet tooth country, right? This ain't a country like in the West Indies and in Africa, we love our bitters. So you might snack on a bitter, right? So the bitter is not going to initiate insulin as much, right? And it actually works for you. But when you initiate insulin, one of insulin's jobs is the main job of insulin is to get sugar out of the blood. And if your cells are satisfied, right? Your cells are gonna be like, I don't need that. I don't need no more glucose, I'm good. So it stores it in adipocytes, in fat cells. So people who snack, and you know, you got them people, I don't eat much, but they binge eating. They eat a little bit,
lots and lots of little bits.
But every little bit you eat is initiating insulin, and that insulin is moving that energy it's saving it for later.
Yeah, Dr. Amsu, energy, you made it.
Right?
Sorry to jump in here.
Yes.
We talk about sedentary lifestyles, right? So you have people that are snacking, that are out, you know, working on a scaffold or out in the field, that they're burning that. You know, I'm not glorifying it or saying it's good, but they are using that energy and burning it off. So there's some kind of balance. Here's the thing: is that, you know, I use me as an example. So I'm snacking. I'm sitting in a cubicle in the office. I'm not doing anything. Do you know what I mean? And you know, I may go to the gym or play soccer a couple of times a week, but for the most part, we have millions of people who are snacking, who are sitting at a desk, who are living a sedentary lifestyle. And so they're not using any of that extra energy that they're getting from the wine gums and the biscuits and the processed food and the carbs. So it's accelerating their weight gain, at least from a visual standpoint, right, Dr. Hampton?
Right. And, your adipose tissue is an endocrine organ, right? It's part of the endocrine system. So it actually determines, when it's functional, energy release. It's storing energy to be released to skeletal muscle and wherever it's needed. Your brain uses a whole bunch of energy, so that brain needs to be fed all the time, right? Especially if you're a thinking man or woman, right? We burn a lot of energy in our brains, right? But if you're in a mundane job and you're sedentary, right? And you're constantly putting more and more energy, or storing more and more energy in adipocytes, in fat cells, there's a threshold where it starts to become dysfunctional, and it starts to produce its own inflammatory cells, and those cells are in and around muscles, in and around your blood vessels, right? So they start to cause inflammation everywhere, right? And this is where obesity becomes a major issue. Obesity just doesn't mean that you're just fat and you're overweight, that you're carrying too much weight. It's a chronic inflammatory condition. So chronic inflammation actually takes energy away from those organs in which it's impacting, right? So those organs become dysfunctional. Cells within those organs become dysfunctional or stop being produced. So the cells or the organs are not doing their jobs efficiently. So there's a cascade, right? There's an absolute cascade in dysfunction, right? So it's not just about weight, that you're carrying a lot of weight. It's that you're impacting vital organs. So functions and pathways of health are impacted, right? So it's a spiral, it's a downward spiral into illness. So obesity is the precursor for so many other disorders, right? Diabetes and high blood pressure and, glomerulonephritis, fatty liver disease, right? Where you're no longer processing growth hormone anymore. So your muscles get impacted. So you get muscular atrophy, right? So there's too many things to name, right? But every time we snack and we eat unnecessarily, and even eating twice a day can be deemed as unnecessary. One of those meals are unnecessary. If you are overweight, you can do alternate day fasting, because all that, what do we call somebody who saves useless shit?
Hoarders.
Hoarders. You start to hoard energy. Energy hoarding is the worst thing you can do to your body, because your body turns against you. It turns against you. Release that energy. Keep your energy well balanced. Calories in, calories out.
Indeed. Dr. Keeler, I know you wanted to jump in on this. I know it's right up your alley, as it were, nutrition and general health.
Pleasant afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So briefly, I wanted to say, it's not by mistake that
Give them the link.
Our taste buds are attacked early in life. You have to unfortunately look at most aspects of the food and pharmaceutical industry as pedophiles. That will help you understand all of this a lot better. So when a pedophile is going after their target, the most sophisticated pedophiles will groom their target. That means they don't go after them sexually immediately. They try to provide things that they know their target will like, and provide it often to garner your trust. And knowing that all of the network is there in you to like these particular things, once they garner your trust, then it becomes a thing of, I need for you to do me a favor. When you begin to look at the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry as pedophiles, it becomes easier to understand how, as children, our taste buds have been hijacked, and understand that everything on your body corresponds to a topographical map on the surface of your brain. And all those neurons between one brain region communicate with other brain regions, not only at the cortex, but at deeper levels. That's why certain scents evoke emotion, certain flavors evoke emotion. When you start to understand that the same tactics that pedophiles use, these industries use, and they're the same tactics in a lot of ways that were used against our ancestors, most of whom were trafficked as children in the slave trade, because let's be honest, much of slave trade was child trafficking.
Of course.
And wherever you have human trafficking, one of the biggest pieces of human trafficking is child trafficking, and that goes into sex trafficking. It is not by accident when you look at the video for WAP, they're using those colors. They're using bright colors that they know children will like, because those are the same colors you find in Skittles, M&Ms, Now Laters, and the Alphabet Mafia. When you start to connect the dots, you'll recognize it's not about, well, damn it, what can we eat? It's about, what have I learned that was corrupted, and how can I go best about unlearning it so I don't allow other folks to take advantage of me?
Yeah. You know, Dr. Keita, that's
that has been hijacked. Your whole brain and body have been hijacked.
Yeah, that's a very profound statement. And look at the food and drug industry as pedophiles who are grooming us, or have been grooming us since children, to gain their trust. This is scary. This is sounding like a case study for local social services. And had it not been the food and drug industry, and it was a person, we'd be screaming for that person to get life, would we not? Castrate them, throw them under the jail, throw the key away. But every day we are not only allowing these people into our home, we're begging them to come in. Yes, okay, we've been groomed since children, but we allow this in our society. And there are just a few people who are making noise about this, but the rest of us are so brainwashed, Dr. Keela, that we gladly accept them. I was just online a few minutes ago, and I was looking up, because we always talk about these different food types, and you probably heard me talk before about gas station food, right? Now, most of us live in places, especially like in the South, in the city, like New York, you have bodegas, and you have those sort of corner grocery stores where they may even make sandwiches, and you can get a pizza in there, or some kind of cooked food, or a curry or bolognese. I'm not saying it's good, but at least it's some kind of cooked food, right? But down here, a lot of these gas stations sell gas station food. It's processed food in a packet. You might get the odd boiled peanut, but the peanuts are boiled in the same oil or water as the those tin sausages. So I was just looking at, there's a site, I'll share the link in a minute. It's the unhealthiest snacks on the planet, right? And you guys can all guess what number one is. Who can guess what number one is for me without Googling? Someone's going to guess for me.
It's black people you're dealing with. Everyone's already on Google, mate.
Well, okay, the first to Google it and let me know, but I want some interaction here.
Especially the people with the black squares.
They're blatantly in it, yeah.
Blatant.
Okay, so since no one's telling me, Lay's potato chips. In the UK, these will be Walkers or KP.
It's Lay's now, though.
It's Lay's now, right? Because it was, I think, the same company.
Right.
And especially the barbecued, or especially the flavored crisps, because for sure they're not flavoring any crisp with any real beef. Come on now. This is all artificial. They're using sugars, salts, MSGs, and different forms of sodium and sugar to flavor them, and they're using different forms of chemicals to color them and give them their crispiness and to preserve them as well. Ruffles, original. And you know the thing about Ruffles is that, here's the strangest thing. I think there was a case on this. People will go for kettle cooked chips and Ruffle chips because they think that they're healthier, because there's some kind of, I don't know if they look like they're handmade or something. These are all the ways they lose these types of illusions. Third one, the regular Lay's classic, you know, the yellow packet. I think in England they're ready salted, right? I think in England, Walker's. Pringles. Come on now. What do we know about Pringles? What do they say about Pringles?
They're fun.
They're fun.
Woo!
But once you pop,
You can't stop.
you can't stop.
It's addictive, y'all.
They are Moorish. Moorish isn't the clinical term. Addictive is closer to the clinical term. They put the right amounts of salt on those. When you eat one Pringle, who's ever had one Pringle and close the tube? How? Listen, if you did that, you better open up your own drug rehabilitation clinic.
I said, Mum, I don't want no more of this.
Ever do this again, Mum. You said under the bed, innit? Eating through the whole tube. Pringles, whatever Hearst ketchup is. Goodness gracious, more Pringles, more Ruffles, the cheese ones. I eat those sometimes. Goodness gracious, I'm going to hell. So guys, you know, what we're talking about here, we're not just throwing things out there. These are things that a lot of us, the snack machine, the vending machine, you know for sure has nothing cooked in it, nothing that will last naturally. If you see a sandwich in a vending machine, know that sandwich has been in the vending machine for a week, and it came from wherever it came from. It was there for a week, and it'll be there for another week till someone gets it. That's the food we're eating. You know it's full of preservatives, sugars, and so on and so forth. So, absolutely.
Say that one. You got to say that one.
Cheetos. Flaming hot Cheetos. These have taken a whole generation of children and imprisoned them. What's the other one? Takis. Who eats Takis on the call? Don't lie. Unmute your camera and just be real about it. We're not going to pick on you.
If you don't unmute your camera, we'll deem you as guilty.
Guilty by virtue of not putting your hand up. Takis. I wish I could find a picture of Takis. Has anyone tried any Takis? Has anyone bought Takis for their kid and had a couple?
What are Takis? Are they like Doritos?
Whatever, Dr. Keeler. Don't. We know you went to university. We know you had Takis and ramen noodles like every day.
Oh no, because that stuff made my skin itch.
Right, there you go.
I'm going to pull up Takis for you guys.
The last time I ate chips probably was around 16 years ago, right? The last time I ate chips, and it woke me up. I was like, what's in this shit? What is in this shit? It woke me up. I'm like, I'm not eating that again, right? And here's the thing, right? And I'm talking to you ladies now. I'm talking to the women. Women produce more ghrelin than men, right? You have more cravings than men. And because of your cravings that you have, you're more empathetic towards children's cravings. So where a man will say, no, you now get none. No. Women are more empathetic and be like, just let him have it, let her have it, and whatnot, right? I'm not saying you. I know somebody was shaking their head, you know, a strict, when you got a strict mum, you know, when you got a strict mum, that's it, right? But a lot of women are not strict. They are more empathetic and more lenient. And children get their treats, they get their snacks, and they, you know, they crave these things, right? So Takis, not only are they neurotoxins, right? They're excitotoxins. They are highly addictive. They're highly addictive. And they're highly addictive to adults. So children don't stand a chance. If you do a properly cooked meal and you present it to a child, or you give that child Takis with Cheetos and some Lays and whatnot, a snack, what do you think the child's gonna choose? Every time they're gonna choose the snack. Every time. I remember when I was a child, I wanted McDonald's. And my mum said, I'll make you McDonald's, and made some kind of, I don't know what it was.
She did Eddie Murphy on you.
And put it in two white pieces of bread, right? I bawled. I was crying. I cried like I properly had a cry. I was a bawl. I bawl, right? And because it was so addictive. And there's an emotional attachment to these things, right? We know the emotional attachment to foods. and when we expose children to these substances, right? So there, look, I'm going to read out a list of hazardous chemicals that are FDA approved. Now, if you have any processed foods in your pantry or in your cupboards or wherever, right? I'm going to read out this list and check your ingredients, your labels. Check your labels to see if any of these are on there, because these are high toxin or high toxic foods that FDA allows onto the market, right? So there's acesulfame, right? Potassium, artificial flavors. So anything that has artificial flavors on it, aspartame, autolyzed yeast extract, azodicarbonamide, BHA, BHT, Blue 1, calcium peroxide, calcium propionate, caramel color, carrageenan, DATEM or datum, right? Dimethyl polysiloxane, high fructose corn syrup,
Favorite.
mono and diglycerides, methylparaben, MSG, propylparaben, propyl gallate, red 3, red 40, sodium benzoate, potassium benzoate, sodium nitrate, sodium nitrite, sodium phosphate, sucralose, TBHQ, titanium dioxide, yellow 5, and yellow 6. These are just a snapshot of the most common toxins that are put into our foodstuffs, so-called foodstuffs, that are highly toxic. They're hazardous chemicals, right? So we know just off the rip with sodium benzoate in most sodas, sodium benzoate. With benzene, known neurotoxin, known carcinogen, and it's allowed into, so the FDA allows stuff that causes cancer, so it's not looking out for our best interest. The FDA gets funded, 45% of FDA funding comes from pharmaceutical industry. So the companies that make money from you getting sick, they give almost half of FDA's funding. Right? Think about that. So corruption is systemic. But at the end of the day, this is corruption that impacts our health. So when we're out here and we're telling you, don't eat that, don't give it to your children, because there are a lot of adults who are looking out for their own health because they're, I'm getting up there in age, I'm slowing down and whatnot, but they're feeding the same stuff that they're avoiding to their children. And this has to stop.
Indeed. So guys, we've had a couple comments and questions on IG and through the chat. I don't see any on YouTube. I'll jump over there in a second. We're going to switch lanes a little bit. Lots to talk about, so many topics. And guys, please, if it's the first time on the call, you do have a question, kindly unmute your camera. You can raise your hand. You can wave to the camera, let us know you got a question, or let us know in the chat, or you can raise your hand. There's a participation button in the bottom of the Zoom. Let us know you have a question. If you're on IG, you can paste the question into the chat in IG, and likewise on YouTube. Rochelle, did you wave your hand just now? Okay, I'll come to you in a second, Rochelle. I just want to come to one question. So we did have a question, one of our long-time listeners, first-time caller, Miss Love Life, was asking about neutropenia, right? What is it? How is it caused? And how can it be cured? Apparently, they requested their medical records from the doctor, and that was part of it. And it also said that they had, it was a benign ethnic neutropenia. Now, I know so little about this. I know enough to answer maybe a pop quiz, but Dr. Amsi, maybe Dr. Keeley, you guys can talk about this, because it's one of the things related to it's a black disease, right? And there are a lot of people out there, when we talk about ethnogenetics and, you know, epigenetics and the different phenotypes, and they say, no, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as race. We're all the same. Does this help? One of the things prove it. And we talked about sickle cell all the time, Dr. Amsu. So what are we talking about here? What is it and how can it be cured
All
or
right,
treated?
so neutropenia is a low neutrophil count. So neutrophils are a type of white blood cell. They're a type of immune cell, right? And here's the thing. So benign means it's not carcinogenic. It's not malignant. It's benign is more friendly. It's not gonna kill you, right? Ethno or ethnic means that basically it's not white, right? So
That's
white,
basically what ethnic means.
It don't mean that though. You know what's funny is that ethnicity
includes whites, Europeans,
but
and
they want to say, no, you're ethnic. You know, that's where racism comes in. But anyway, right? So it means it's to a specific phenotype, right? Unwhite phenotype, person of color, right? Neutropenia, meaning low white blood cell count, right? Low neutrophil count, which means that it's usually people who are on cancer treatment or some sort of treatment where it that could be the cause, right? That it lowers the neutrophil count. But here's the thing. Black people naturally have a lower white blood cell count than white people, right? And the standards that are given for white blood cell counts, it's not correct because it's based off white or European standards, white biology. So there are tribes in South Africa, as a for instance, where they have little to no white blood cells of specific types, right? And they don't get sick because they have other cells in their body that protects them from infection. So one of the things when you have a low neutrophil count is that you're more susceptible, and I do air quotes, right? You're more susceptible to infection by pathogens, right? Now, here's the thing, and I'll bring you in, Dr. Keeler. What's more detrimental, low neutrophil count or low vitamin D? What's more detrimental to black people out of those two, right? So Dr. Keeler, on that question, I'll bring you in.
So it's more detrimental for people of African descent to have a low vitamin D count because think about it like this. We are, for the most part, autochthonous. We are from the soil. So as the trees are, so are we. They need the sun, we need the sun. Even the soil needs the sun to stay clear of infection, particularly fungal overgrowth, as well as bacterial overgrowth. The sun keeps everything in check. For us, the sun keeps everything in check for us via vitamin D, in addition to other neurotransmitters that we do produce in response to sunlight, like serotonin, which later on in the day gets converted into melatonin, which helps us sleep better so that our cells undergo rejuvenation, natural cell repair, clearance of old senescent dead cells and the such. So for us, being low in vitamin D is more of an issue than having a low white cell count. The other thing is, if you have benign ethnic neutropenia, the major thing you have to be concerned about is getting enough sunlight so that you don't develop cancers, because if they put you on chemo, that's when you're going to have a problem. People who have benign ethnic neutropenia tend to show differences in survivability when it comes to being treated with chemo and the after effects of that. Literally, as people of African descent, as richly melanated people, if we did not do anything but eat plants and be in the sun all day and drink clean water, we'd actually be healthier than the rest of the planet. Mm-hmm. Because we still have for the most part, the original template of enzymes for nutrient extraction at levels that most other people can't survive on. So for instance, I don't know if you notice that children of African descent, whether in the Caribbean, in Central and South America, any place in the world, if their parents have not been exposed to a lot of processed anything, you'll notice that those children will only eat when they're hungry, and when they're not hungry, they'll refuse to eat. They are very much in tune with their nutrient requirements. It's when they get exposed to Western customs of eating that whole Ghrelin, leptin, gut-brain axis gets thrown off. We can extract nutrients in ways from plants that most other people cannot do. So there's really no reason to snack. And when we do overdo the sugars, what that serves to do is, if you are already in a naturally low neutrophil state, white blood cell state, and you inundate your body with a bunch of sugars, you slow down movement and function of your white blood cells. So it actually impairs your immune system. We only need a little bit of sugar for our immune system to function. And that's from plants, particularly from fruits. Beyond that, we don't need the refined, the processed. We don't need it. It actually hampers us.
Absolutely. Excellent breakdown there.
What I wanted to add to that as well, right? And benign ethnic neutropenia, it's actually very, very common in people of African descent, and it means that, you know, you have an absolute neutrophil count of less than 1,500 microcells, right? Which does not put you at risk for any infection, right? So when we're given these terms, it sounds like a condition, like, I want that. You know, and it can make you anxious, right? But the term benign, that, you know, the preceding term, benign, lets you know it's not bad. It's not bad, right? And again, people of African ancestry, we can have a low white blood cell count without the risk of infection. And this is the thing. When you are infected by any kind of pathogen, check your white blood cell count. It's through the roof. So it's like, if white blood cells perform such a great task in protection, why is the white blood cell count so high when there's an infection? And when there isn't, it's low. So the question becomes, are all these white blood cells actually good for us or not? You know, so there are functions within urobiology. They rely heavily upon these immune cells. Us melanated people, we need that vitamin D. And vitamin D actually inhibits the production of these white blood cells, because it within itself, it has what we call C-amps, or cathelicidin antimicrobial peptides. So we produce peptides that deal with these pathogens that infect our bodies. So vitamin D is so important. It's a vital, critical, crucial part of our makeup. So when these terms are thrown around, again, education is everything, so that we don't get spooked when we hear these terms, right? And we need to be in the sun, black people. We need to get in the sun as much as possible. We need to eat sun produced foods. fruits, vegetables.
Dr. Hampson,
Seeds.
can you talk briefly about our D3 supplement? The reason being, you know, it comes up continually. You know, the vitamin D3 deficiencies, especially in the northern hemispheres, people who don't get that particular type of UV, so they're never going to metabolize it because they're just not being hit with it. And why even people in you know, sort of more southern you know, zones that should have a certain amount of UVB, but may live sedentary lives, may work in offices, work night shifts and things like this, so they're asleep with the curtains closed during the day, who are suffering a lot of those vitamin D3 deficient ailments. Can you talk a little bit about our D3 supplement, why you created it, why people need it, and why black people especially shouldn't rest on their laurels thinking that because they're black, somehow they've been blessed with the sun and all this kind of stuff. You actually need to know the science because it's not as straightforward as that. So Dr. Hampton, please talk about our D3 supplement.
All right, so our D3 supplement, I formulated the D3 supplement because 90% of black people in the northern hemisphere, right? Around the world, 90% of black people are vitamin D deficient, right? We don't get in the sun long enough, right? So white people can go into the sun for 15, 20 minutes. And because they don't have any melanin, there's no inhibition of them synthesizing the UVB into vitamin D. So our melanin has its purpose, and it also protects us from harmful rays from the sun. But while it does that, it actually inhibits how much we absorb, how much UVB absorption there is, and then that impacts our, you know, how quickly we synthesize vitamin D from the sun. So when we don't get enough from the sun, we need it from our food, because vitamin D is a vital or an essential vitamin, meaning we don't produce it ourselves, right? We don't produce it endogenously. We need outside influence, we need outside sources, such as the sun, such as our food, to produce it. Now, most black people, right, are obese. What does this mean? How does this, what's obesity got to do with it, Mikey? Well, obese people can't take the heat. Soon as they hit some sunlight, it's hot. It's you know, when it's warm, it's warm and they can't take it, let alone if it's hot. So it's like they start, and they believe that sweating is something bad. Keela, how many people do you know when they sweat, it's like something's wrong with them? No, I'm sweating. If you're sweating, you're working properly. Sweating is nature's way of cooling you down. But no, I don't want to cool down naturally. I want Freon. I want air. I want AC to do it. I want my AC to cool me down. No, your sweat is the natural way, and it also helps you to get rid of toxins at the same time, right? So, all that to say, because black people are more likely, and they are more obese than everybody else, right? We don't take the sun. We can't take the sun. So we go indoors, switch the AC on, close the blinds. So even those who are in the southern regions who get UVB throughout the year, you don't get it because you hide from it. And then we don't eat foods that provide vitamin D, right? So because of that, I formulated the D3 formula, which is 100% plant-based, right? And has very powerful vitamin D3 properties. Very powerful. So we need around 10,000 IUs daily of vitamin D3. Some of us don't even get 2,000 IUs. Some of us don't even get 1,000. So a lot of black women, and black women need to be in the sun more than everybody else, even more than black men, right? Because of the level of estrogen. That estrogen is an inhibitor of vitamin D3, right? So black women, not only are you melanated to inhibit vitamin D3 synthesis, you also have enough estrogen to also inhibit it further. So a lot of black women suffer with psychological, behavioral, depressive conditions, right? More than anybody else, because D3 is a mood modulator. How we express ourselves. Vitamin D3 is a great part of us, our joy, in our expression, in our, you know, when it comes to creativity. Vitamin D3 plays a great part in that. And part of our expression is inhibited when we don't get, a great part of our expression is inhibited, right? So we become depressed, we become anxious. So anxiety, and anxiety leads to more corticosteroids being released, and then it impacts the thyroid gland, right? The hypothalamus, right? The pituitary gland, and then our endocrine system is impacted. So we're not producing hormone stimulating substances as we should do, right? So the cascade is great, all because, remember, all because the lady loves milkshake, right?
That.
All because we didn't get into the sun and we deprived ourselves of foods that basically accommodated us.
Dr. Amsi, can we jump to Dr. Keeler? Because I want to get
Yes.
to Rochelle. Then we got another question from the IG. So Dr. Keeler, I know you're itching. This is you. You're the. We got to find a name for you, the derma lady. I don't know.
I'll be brief. So the main thing I wanted to say is that a lot of, especially richly melanated men and women, and I don't care where you are on the map, a lot of us who are products of colonization often heard growing up, get out the sunlight, you're going to get black.
Mm-hmm.
Our relatives may have thought they were helping us in terms of getting a mate, but they were actually hurting us. Anybody that has a problem with you getting darker or being dark, they're not the mate for you.
Right.
Because your health is not paramount in their mind. The ability to color shift like a chameleon, like a tree, like a blade of grass is a survival advantage. And one of the ways to know you have gotten a sufficient amount of sunlight in a particular day is, number one, are you going out between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m.? Number two, do you feel like you need to sleep afterward? Because that's usually an indicator that you have saturated your body with enough vitamin D, because now the sleep is when you're going to really start converting a lot of this solar energy that has basically cleaved cholesterol out of your skin, sent it to your liver, and then sent it to your kidney for full activation to help you absorb minerals properly that are going to keep you calm and keep your neurons talking to each other properly and talking to your nerves properly and keep your hormones in check. The other thing is, one of the ways you know you have satiated your body with enough sunlight is, does your skin iridesce afterward? Because in addition to converting solar energy to chemical energy in the terms of vitamin D and expanding melanin production, you will get iridescence from your skin. So for me, example, in the winter, I'm reddish brown. In the summer, if I get proper UVB exposure, I'm slate black.
Blue black.
With blue, green, exactly, blue, black, purple, black. With that, the blue and the purple are the iridescence that you see. If you're not iridescing, you're not getting enough sunlight. If you're not feeling sleepy after sun exposure, you're not getting enough sunlight.
Dr. Keeler, real quick, I want to ask something here. Asking for someone else, asking for a friend. People of lighter skin, of lighter hue, black people who may just be light skin or maybe even mixed race, what should they be doing? Should they, obviously, I'm assuming just based on the scale, right, they should be leaning more towards maybe themselves not getting too much sun, right? Is that a fair statement? Or
if you've had too much sun, one of the things you'll notice is that you'll itch. You'll itch. You may not get a rash, but you'll feel itchy. And one of the things you'll have to do is inundate yourself with more plants, particularly those high in carotenoids. So that's going to be your orange, yellow, and reds. Richly melanated people have to do the same thing, but because we have our melanin on autopilot and we have so much of it, we may not notice we have to do it. I learned I had to do it after visiting relatives in Florida. I was not prepared for that level of sunlight. And one of the things that my father and his mother had me do is eat a lot of tomatoes, eat a lot of watermelon, eat a lot of red fruits to bolster my phytonutrient, my polyphenol load, so that until I could produce enough melanin to be in that level of sunlight, I had the protection. So it's not enough to have melanin, you have to keep it.
Right.
And if you don't eat to keep your melanin, it won't be there to protect you. If you don't eat to put more polyphenols in your system, more carotenoids in your system until your body can build up its melanin stores, you will burn, even as a dark complected person. My grandmother is a lighter skinned woman. I would say like an Italian in sunlight. But she learned from living overseas how she had to eat in order not to get sunburned. So I ate the ackee from the tree in the backyard. I ate my yellow fruits. And I had to turn around and eat a lot more red and purple fruits, because the purple fruits like acai, eggplant is a fruit. They are inundated with such a high level of UVB that the purple that you see, almost that black, is really an extreme upregulation of chlorophyll plus carotenoids. We see it as black or purple, but it's really a full upregulation of chlorophyll in addition to all of the other carotenoids, and then add an addition of anthocyanins, which give you the ultimate UVB protection. That's that purple color. Like when you see blackish purple in black people, when we eat the anthocyanins in blackberries, acai, eggplant, that's the level of protection.
Right, and for you, for all those who live in the southern states, right, we're coming into the season of what's the name of the grapes? Muscadines. We're coming into muscadine season, everybody. Muscadine or muscadine, take your pick, right? And the reason why they're seasonal the way they are is because they are perfect for this time of year when the sun gets really hot, coming up to August, right? For those of us in the northern hemisphere, right? Muscadines start to sprout everywhere. They what's the term? What's the correct term? Blossom? It's not blossom. It's what's the term? I can't remember. Anyway, right? They're out now. They're coming out. One of the things what were done to black people, the watermelon stigma, right? So you got some black people that don't eat watermelon around white people because they stigmatized us with it, right? They made it a racial slur that black people love watermelons. Well, We do love watermelons, and we have to embrace it. Let's live that stereotype, right? The black seeded watermelons, one of the best things that we can consume during all year, whenever you can get it, as long as it's in season. All these tropical fruits, when they're in season, it means now we're supposed to be eating it. It's the best time where we get all the polyphenols we need for best health. So what they're trying to get us to do is rely on their frozen fruits, right? Which a lot of the nutrients are inactive, right? Or we go to the processed stuff. We go to processed stuff and we're just not getting the nutrients that we need. So going back to the D3, our supplement D3, the reason for D3 is because black people are vitamin D deficient. 90% of us, 90%, that's 9 out of 10, right? So the 10% of us who do get enough sun, right, there's few and far between. Most of us make excuses, or we've been socially engineered, and it's social engineering that's taken place. We've been marketed, we've been duped, right? We've been lied to. We've been bamboozled into a lifestyle where we hide from the sun.
We've been groomed.
Right, we've been groomed. There you go. We've been groomed.
By the pedophiles. Okay, listen, guys, I'm loving this. I had to step away and do some technical stuff because, I wear many hats here. I'm actually the VP of production here. So thank you. If you've got any advice or anything, please send it to us on a postcard here at GBD Towers. Listen, we've got some more questions to get to. I want to get to Rochelle. I know Rochelle has had her hand up for a little while. She's been, getting ready to go in the shower. I bet the water's all cold now in the bathtub. I'm not even ready to get in there. How you doing, Rochelle?
Hello, good night, everyone.
Hi.
So I just want to thank you, first of all, for the products I received, my parcel.
Okay, excellent. Congratulations. Hello? Thank you.
Oh, nice.
And now you're breaking it. You've been there the whole time. Okay.
I know you said you said there's a list of things that you mustn't eat when you're doing the 14-day detox.
Yes, don't eat anything.
All of them.
When you're doing the 14, you abstain from all foods.
Right. So that means, can I have juice?
All right. Do you have the instructional? You should have the instruction manual.
I downloaded it, but it didn't come through to my phone. I don't know why.
All right. So get it. Well, look at the instruction manual. You drink water, spring water, right? You have your Cloringa, which is for your structured water, right? You have lemons. You have, if you get the black lava salt to make your structured water. Then there's coconut water. As an addition to that, you can have boiled ginger with manuka honey.
Okay.
Right? Or watermelon water.
Yeah.
Watermelon juice, right? That's all you're going to drink. Nothing else. No juices, no pineapple juice, no orange juice, no other form of juice, no smoothies, no making any, I'm going to have me a green smoothie in the morning. No. Right?
Okay.
None of that. We want to keep calories to a minimum. Right?
Okay.
So all you're doing is just those waters, what I've just told you about, plus the supplements. That's it.
Yes.
No chewing gum.
I don't chew chewing gum. I don't eat sweets.
All right. Not even, like, you can squeeze lemon into your water, but don't chew on the lemon. Don't bite into a lemon or anything like that. All right.
Okay.
And this is very important for your digestive system to restore homeostasis in your gut flora, the microbiome. All right, very important. And lemon is a bitter. All right, and so citric fruit are bitters part of the bitters family. So helps to restore proper digestion. So you're giving your stomach a break, but you're restoring the good bacteria. That's essential for digestion and nutrient absorption.
What day are you on, Rochelle? You just starting?
No, I just received my parcel.
Okay,
So
okay.
I've got to go and get the scan I told you about
Yes.
Sunday.
Okay.
So I said after, once I get the results and know what is what, then I could start the detox.
Okay. Well, keep us posted. Make sure you download the app and make sure you update everyone in the app and share with us your journey and give us some before and after shots.
Make sure you read the instructional manual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I will definitely. Because I've got someone I've introduced to the fat detox. So we're gonna do it together. A friend of mine is gonna be doing it with me.
Excellent.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
Right.
We'll keep us posted. Thank you, Rochelle.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle.
You can get in the bath now. In fact, don't leave. Wait, the water's already cold.
Thank
you can run
you.
that later on as well.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, listen, Rose, I see your hand is up. Please unmute your camera.
I'm not waiting in the bath. It's after 10 for us in Britain.
I know you guys, it's way past your bedtime. I know that.
Yes.
Well, listen, thanks for joining. Thanks for staying up and joining. We all appreciate you. Thank you. Rose, before we come to you, please unmute your camera. I'm going to go to Connor. Connor, she's going to tell me her name. She ever gets on the call. She's put a question here in the IG. Connor saying she has 8 fibroids and 2 cysts. And a doctor wants her, of course, to have a hysterectomy, right? And Connor, let us know your age and everything in the chat, and we'll share that as well, because it does shed some sort of light on why they're saying hysterectomy for 8 fibroids. And we've got people that have had 20, 30, 40 fibroids and haven't had a hysterectomy. We've cured them as well with that. And Connor's 57 are fibroids. Right. And Connor's asking, how can she get rid of them? Now, you've come to the right place, so I'll let Dr. Anthony jump on this as well. But Connor, whilst he's doing that, please let us know a little bit more about your fibroids, what age you are. I'm just interested in why they're suggesting hysterectomy for 8 fibroids and 2 cysts. Okay, Dr. Anthony.
All right, so we hear the story all the time, and it starts off with, and I don't know if this is your case, but, all the ladies who are out there, let me know if this story is familiar. So you may or may not have been put onto birth control when you were young because you had an irregular cycle, and the birth control was to regulate the cycle, and as a plus, just in case you are a bit promiscuous or whatever, it will keep you from becoming pregnant. Then you get into your 20s and you start to have reproductive issues, right? And it might be in your 20s, it might be in your early 30s, but they find small fibroids or a small fibroid, and they say, oh, it's only small, we're going to monitor it. And then you go back a year or 2 later and they say, oh, there's more, or it's grown, and now where it's grown to, we need to do some surgery. And that surgery is either going to be a myomectomy, a UFE, a procedure, embolization, uterine fibroid embolization, or uterine artery embolization, where they try to basically starve the fibroids by cutting off the blood supply, or a hysterectomy where they take your womb, right? They take the uterus out. Now, 75%, according to ACOG, right? Which is the Association of Certified Obstetricians and Gynecologists, right? ACOG. 75% of hysterectomies are unnecessary, meaning that 3 out of 4 hysterectomies they were overprescribed, right? Maldiagnosed, right? And basically there's a conflict of interest. So the gynae is making money from your procedure, right? And this is so commonplace. 75% of hysterectomies in the USA, and it's always 75%, right? 75% of hysterectomies in the United States are performed on African American women. In fact, African American women, there are more hysterectomies performed on African American women than the rest of the world combined. Right? So this is a common practice, and it's almost a sport. In fact, I believe it is a sport. Black womb hunting, right? And they make a lot of money from selling African American or black wombs for further medical research, stem cells and what have you. So you pay for a procedure and you pay, you know, maybe around 10, 12, 15, 20 grand, right? But they sell your womb on for 50 grand, 60 grand. So you could actually say, well, I'll tell you what, you take the womb, don't charge me, you can keep it, right? Because you don't know how much it's worth. But this is the reason why. So the conflict of interest is the hospital, just like with placenta, when women have babies, and you say, oh, I want my placenta, because my religion, I'm from an African descent, and we want to bury our placenta, right? They'll say, oh no, you can't take that, because they know stem cell research, it's valuable. This is gold, it's black gold.
Indeed. Well, Dr. Amsu, listen, so Connor just messaged, she says she has one cyst in each ovary, right? And I don't want to derail what you're saying, because I think it's extremely important. We have a number of videos actually on our website you can go to, and we talk about the fibroid pandemic and how many, you know, African American black women globally are suffering from this, which is why Dr. Amsu's written the book, The Got Fibroids.
I wrote a book about it.
He wrote the book on it, you know, and it's not cliche. But Dr. Amsu, talking, and that's a great segue into the book. The young ladies asked, what can she do to eradicate them, right? And I really want us to talk about our program, because I don't think we talk about it enough. Occasionally, if, you know, we haven't had the fibroid call for a little while because we've had some other pressing things we have to go and deal with. But please, Dr. Amsu, I mean, not to self-aggrandize yourself or anything, but talk about this program that you put together, why it's so effective, why it's so important, and why black people, black women who do have fibroids need to do this first, unless it's critical that they need a surgical procedure. Why this is the way they need to go. Right.
So, as I said, the amount of black women are 10 times more likely than white women to in fact 9.7, which is basically 10 times more likely to develop fibroids than their white counterparts, right? We, as black people in general, we amplify the effects of estrogen. Estrogen is at the root cause of fibroids, right? So you are suffering from estrogen dominance. So you have fibroids and you have cysts. So you have these cysts, which are basically sacs of pus and other fluids, right, that develop. And because of estrogen, they grow large, right? So we amplify the effects of estrogen. We have more estrogen alpha estrogen receptors, and we have a polymorphism, right? A genetic difference in which our estrogen receptor alphas absolutely exaggerate and exacerbate the effects of estrogen. So there are other factors as well with metabolism. We tend to hydroxylate more than we methylate, right? And with that hydroxylation, it actually makes estrogen even more potent. Then we produce more aromatase than white people, right? Which converts androgens into estrogens. So when it comes to black people and estrogen, we're highly sensitive to estrogen. Then we're surrounded by estrogenic substances. We're living in a time where petrochemicals and endocrine disrupting chemicals and substances that behave as estrogens, right, enter into our body, and we ingest these all day, every day. So our program is basically an anti-estrogenic lifestyle change, right? And it's not just about if you have fibroids or if you have cysts, ovarian cysts, or if you have, if you suffer with polycystic ovary syndrome, which is, there's two sides to it. Polycystic, meaning multiple cysts, and then there's the androgenic issue, the hormonal imbalance part of it. The as I said, androgenic, where there's hirsutism, there's your metabolism, you suffer with metabolic syndrome, so you're more prone to diabetes, more prone to obesity, right? Then there's infertility, which is becoming more and more prevalent in the black community as well. So this book that I've written called Got Fibroids, the Fibroid Elimination Bible, is about female reproductive disorders, specifically those that are the result of estrogen dominance. And it's a lifestyle change. It's a process, a system to eliminate these chronic inflammatory conditions that black women and women of color suffer more than their white counterparts, right? On how to not only eradicate them, but also for younger women to put into practice to prevent this from taking place. So very often in our community, we wait until we got some shit to start dealing with it. Whereas this is a lifestyle because of our predisposition. We have intrinsic genetics that leave us susceptible. Not that black women have a gene for fibroids or PCOS, right? Or endo, because endo is one of them as well, right? It's that we're at higher risk. Black women are at higher risk because of genetic polymorphisms, right? To end up with these conditions if you are exposed to the same substances that white women are exposed to, right? It's a farm. We're living in a farm, and fibroids and these reproductive disorders are being cultured.
Cash crop. Dr. Amsu, I want to take just a minute or two before we go, because Connor is actually on the IG. She's not on the call. I'd love, Connor, if you could be on the call. We can sort of interact and hear a bit more from you. Dr. Amsu, I want to talk specifically about these supplements and the program in the book. So, maybe let me talk for a bit. Maybe I'll Google this, so you can come in and look like the knight in shining armor and correct me. So, the Got Fibroids, the Fibroid Elimination Bible, is from a distance, a coffee book read, but it's not actually. It's actually the manual. And there's a certain amount of information here that talks to fibroids, the source of fibroids, why black people suffer for disproportionately from fibroids and other female reproductive health issues. But more importantly, this book has the program, is the blueprint how to get rid of your fibroids naturally. It's the program that is supplemented by the supplements, no pun intended, and the diets and the movement exercises and all the procedures, the protocols and the regimen for black women to eradicate, alleviate, and really shrink and cure, if you want to use, for want of a better word, their fibroids again naturally. Look, your fibroids took years to develop. Your fibroids did not appear through some medical procedure. So a medical procedure, yes, they may cut away the visceral tissue, but chances are what we find, I think it's more than 25% of women say they've had a partial myomectomy or some laparoscopic surgery, and the fibroids come back, because the surgery doesn't deal with the root cause. This program, the Fibroid Elimination Bible, is that what prescribes, and our ethnogenetically created liquid supplements tackle the root cause. Dr. Amsu was talking about estrogen dominance, Dr. Amsu, about eradicating the triggers that, again, particularly attack people of color, because we have those polymorphisms, right? This isn't racist, this is racial. This is something that we need to be aware of. Just as we spoke earlier on about the white blood cells, and it's in that realm. So, Connor, we have a program, a proven program. You can go to our website, Great Black Detox greatblackdetox.com/fibroids, and we also have a hair elimination program as well. It gives into detail, and you will learn from thousands of women who have done our program who have celebrated not having to have a medical procedure, who have celebrated miracle babies. Dr. Amsu, can you talk very quickly about Eliminate? I had it here just a second ago. I know it's just a bottle I'm holding up on the screen, but Dr. Amsu, is this something that you worked on when women were coming to you about other issues, and something you found in common? They all kept saying they had fibroids.
Right.
And then you realize that, wait, hold on, fibroids is actually the most common thing among black women that we're seeing coming to our clinics about, weight and about alopecia. They all had fibroids and other tumors. Please talk to us about Eliminate and probably Essence, Dr. Amson, before we move over to
So here's the
Rose.
thing. So let's go back to when I was talking about teenagers. So a lot of teenagers, they have irregular cycles, they have hormonal acne, they have, painful periods and all that. These are all signs and symptoms of hormonal imbalance. Now, hormonal imbalance is trivialized, right? And Dr. Keeler did a great breakdown of the importance of hormones and how important they are when it comes to nutrient utilization, nutrient distribution, how our bodies utilize, how we use nutrients, right? And nutrients are needed by organs and by tissue to perform their duties correctly. And hormones are in the critical pathway of that. So when there's a hormonal imbalance, your organs are not going to work correctly. Your immune system is not going to work correctly, right? So how your body functions, just to be functioning normally, it's not going to work. So when you hear hormonal imbalance, it is a major, serious issue. Hormonal imbalance is responsible for cancer, for malignancy, right? And telltale signs are irregular bleeding, are bloating and cramps, severe cramps, and heavy bleeding, and hormonal acne, right? It's been found that people who suffer with severe hormonal acne as children are more likely, are at higher risk of cancer when they get older because of the hormonal imbalance. So what they do, they put you onto the pill. Now, going back to this now, Essence is a supplement that I formulated to balance hormones, to regulate hormones, because it's about regulating and putting a harness on this carcinogenic hormone called estrogen. It's a carcinogen. If it is not regulated correctly, and it is free, it has a free flow, right? Meaning it dominates the other hormones. So there's a ratio between your sex hormones, your steroidal hormones, that has to be maintained, right? And this is what we call homeostasis, right? When there's a balance where testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone are finely balanced, are properly balanced, right? Your body will function normally. You will spot during menses. You will not bleed. You will not hemorrhage. That corrects hormonal imbalance, that corrects the estrogen dominance. Then there's Eliminate. Now, women who have any tumors, growths, whether they are tumorous or they are cystic, right? Whether they're cysts or tumors or fibroids, right? This is a gentle way of dissolving and eradicating those unwanted growths, right? No matter where they are in the body, this will go to work to eradicate the unwanted growths. So those two combined, as well as with the liver RX, because the liver RX is to get your liver, which is such an important organ, right, to function correctly in removing toxins and to synthesize other hormones, right? How to utilize cholesterol in order to create a finely balanced steroidal hormones, right? Produce those correctly right? Blood RX to make sure that your blood is not contaminated. So removes toxins from the blood and also helps to inhibit white blood cells. When white blood cells become too high in their count, it can be an issue. So the combination of those 4 supplements alongside removing things from the diet that are creating the problem, alongside your lifestyle habits, the stuff that you ingest involuntarily, your household products, your what you put on your skin, right? What you put in your hair, what makeup you use, right? All these things are factors that you do not realize are impacting your reproductive health all the time. So hormones and metabolism, how you utilize energy, how you utilize nutrients, right? These are all impacted by what you ingest. So toxins, removal of toxins, and the increase in nutrients that your body utilizes for best or optimal health. That's what this program is all about.
Yeah.
And it's something that even if women do not have cysts or fibroids, because black women are at such high risk, it's the culture, the habits of lifestyle that are producing so many women with these reproductive issues that we have to eradicate.
Indeed. And Dr. Amster, thank you for that. And so, Connor, listen, I guess simple answer to your question is yes, your fibroids and your cysts can be shrunken, eradicated, dissolved, cured naturally without those operations. We'd love to hear more about your case, but this is literally what we do day in, day out. With the program, you will get the either hard copy or the soft version of the book, which again is the manual. So this is actually the manual, and if you follow this, and we have support for you, we have the Great Black Detox app as well, which you can download. But you get the book, you get the supplements, you get the meal plans, because we understand that a lot of people do struggle with sort of switching their lifestyle, switching their meals over from what they've been used to, and it's all those estrogenic foods. And the beautiful thing about this program is when you do this program, not only are you going to eradicate your fibroids, you're going to see all the other uplifts you get in your health, general health, by eliminating those foods. Because whether you realize it or not, a lot of the foods that you've been eating actually contribute to a number of other conditions you've been suffering as well. It's just that your body expresses it through the creation of fibroids and other tumors in the body. So again, Connor, we've put the link in the chat. Hakan, can you put the link back in there for the fibroids? greatblackdetox.com/fibroids. I think I put it in the chat. I'll put it in there again. And with that program, again, you get the book, you get the supplements, you get the meal plans, you get the guidance, and of course you can join the app. You have the accountability as well. And again, thousands of women have testified that this works. And again, this is why we're here. We're here every week. We're not hiding anywhere. So if there's anyone that complained about it, they're free to come on here and tell us all about ourselves.
And you know what, right? Mm-hmm. I got to say this.
Go ahead.
Right?
Is it political?
No, it's not political, okay. But it is, right? It's not, right? But check this out. Over the last decade, tens of thousands of women around the globe have eradicated their fibroids naturally on this program.
Yes.
Using this book, following this, and taking the supplements. There was a show on Oprah Winfrey Network, mm-hmm. right, called Eggs Over Easy. Mm-hmm. And I was featured in that documentary. But when they did the show on Roland Martin, right, and there was a panel, they had everybody on that panel, aside from me, the person with the actual remedy.
This is what they do.
Right? So there was a bunch of women on that who were talking about fibroids and what they do and about PCOS and infertility, and they omitted me from the panel. Right? They omitted me from the panel. And here's the thing. Why is that being done? Why am I not out there in mainstream media being, and I don't want to be like glorified, but Why ain't I being glorified, Mikey?
You know why, Dr.
Why ain't
Anderson.
I up there?
There's no money in what you do. The money's in the gynaes and the hysterectomies and the medications and the
Did you say the Guyanese?
Guyanese people, especially,
Guyanese.
and other small Caribbean islands are all conspiring against black women.
No, but here's the thing, right? When Einstein is put up there, so many black women suffer with fibroids. I have a remedy, a proven remedy, right? More proven than anybody else. You don't hear about any other programs out there that's doing what we're doing for reproductive disorders in black women. And I'm hidden from the world. And I charge everybody on here, we need to get this information out there. I need to be out there. I'm trying my best to shout as loud as I can. Listen, the remedy is here. Right? It's a conspiracy.
And he does shout, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see.
I do shout.
But it's important, and you know, it's funny, we talk about this all the time. So everyone out here who considers themselves to be woke, is that the first time you've used the word woke on this show? Maybe it is.
Don't use it.
These are the things we're talking about. You know, we're here broadcasting live every week, and apparently the man is going to come looking for us. But here's the thing: you have an opportunity before they bump us off to get rid of your fibroids and share this information with your loved ones, your sisters, your aunties, the family at large. Because what they don't tell you, what we don't talk about, and I'm going to move on to you, Rose, in just a second, as well as a couple other questions we have. I think we're going to stay in topic. Is what this does to our communities, what it does to our families. So you have fibroids personally, but what does that do to your interaction with your loved one, your husband, your boyfriend, your kids, your work? Do you know how many women, how many black women miss time off work because of fibroids? And we're going to talk about endometriosis and adenomyosis in just a second. Rose, you had your hand up. I know you put a question in the chat. I'd love to hear from you, Rose, if you could unmute your mic, please, about your situation, which I hate to hear, but please share with us what's going on with you in this same realm, Rose.
Okay, so hold on a second, sir.
Are you at the YMCA, Rose?
Yeah, I am on the line. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Rose.
Okay, yes, I was in a room at work, actually. So, short story. I mean, I've been doing research for myself for a long time, trying to figure out why I'm having the issues I'm having. And short story is that I believe I have a version of Asherman syndrome, which is basically a lot of scarring in my uterus from myomectomies, because I had 2 myomectomies. And it's led me now to the situation, because the last procedure I had was to try to remove the scarring. And it led me to a situation where now my period is absent. Now, absent in terms of the actual physical part in which I'm actually bleeding. Now, internally, I still feel the motions of, the PMS and the cramping, and like something is trying to come out. I just can't release anything, because I believe from now I've gone to the doctor and had like MRIs done on the uterus and on the pelvis to see what's going on. And from what they've advised me is that I have scarring that's like basically blocking my cervix, so the cervix entry area, so that the blood could come out. So basically I can't release.
Right. And again, the issues with these surgical procedures, especially black people, when we get cut, right, we're more prone to keloid, right, as well, right, where we develop scar tissue. There's an increase in fibrin, right, and this causes a serious problem. A lot of black women who go for myomectomies, they don't tell them about the scar tissue issue. Yeah. They just, it's like, all right, you'll be in and out. You come in, you get your procedure, you'll be out the same day or the following day or whatever, right? Come in on your lunch break. And then the aftermath is this. And then it requires other procedures. So this program here, it is, we actually have a supplement called Deep Vein, which helps to remove scar tissue, right? That is present from all forms of like surgery, right? By reducing the amount of fibrin, right? There's excess fibrin that's being produced, right? But estrogen also contributes to scar tissue, to inflammation, right? And remember, myomectomies do not deal with the root cause.
Yeah.
Right? So your body's still doing the same stuff it does every month, and the excess estrogen is still causing the damage it's doing, and which is why within a couple years of all myomectomies, they come back. The fibroids will return, and when they come back with a vengeance. But now you have scar tissue as well. So the complications that come with the scar tissue is worse than when you had fibroids themselves, right? So again, we have a whole program for this. And, you know, it's a shame that we're usually the last resort.
Yeah.
I've tried everything. I had I don't want a hysterectomy though. So we're the last resort before hysterectomy. And we want to be the first resort, the first option that naturally these things take place. So we hear stories like yours all the time. And it's frustrating for us, you know, that how come all these black women have not heard about us? Like you said that you were doing research. So how long did it take you?
I mean, a lot of the research I had done happened after I had my first myomectomy. I mean, I was pretty young when I first had it. I was in my early 30s. I was like about 30, 31. I didn't even understand the aspect of fibroids and why it comes about. And I mean, the only exposure I had to, hey, how you doing? The only exposure I had to that was my mom. You know, she's had them,
right? And
she had kids, but she had to have a hysterectomy because, you know, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, by the way, and you know, when you're from a small island, there's no options. It's oh well, you keep having fibroids, get rid of the uterus, you know,
right?
But she ended up having 4 children, and at that point, I mean, she could have kept having more children. But the doctors and them just kept pushing at her to, oh, well, you're having fibroids. You have to get rid of the uterus. I mean, there's no education about that. So she thought that's what she was supposed to do. And she did that, you know. So that was my only exposure to fibroids in regards to that. I'm a young person growing up. I didn't really start having issues with the fibroids until I hit 30. But before that, I went to the doctors and they told me, yeah, you seem to have a little case of fibroids, but they're very small and minimal, and you know, they don't give you any information. And I didn't think it was anything for me to really focus on and, you know, pay attention to it. I just figured, oh well, you know what, it'll go away or whatever, you know.
Right. We there's a term called medical apartheid, right?
Yeah.
Black people are not educated in anything. Right? We're the least educated by the physicians, but we have the most trust in them than everybody else. It doesn't make sense that we put so much faith in a system that deprives us of education, right?
I agree.
And especially in developing countries,
so-called, right? Yeah.
So-called developing countries, and that there are all these policies and procedures that come from the West, and some of them are very archaic, draconian, right? And they are instigated upon us. They're put upon us, and we lap it up. We're like, thank you, white man, thank you, white daddy, you know, for you know, bestowing upon us your procedures and policies. And look, again, we have the fibroid elimination program. We have the female reproductive disorder elimination programs. And we want to get it out there to the world. So how long did it take you, Rose, to learn about us? How long?
I mean, this is not the first time I've actually heard you guys speak. I probably within the last 5 years, I've seen a program one time on Instagram or something with you guys talking.
Right.
But I've been, ever since I had the first surgery, like I said, that's when I actually started to do the work to try to find out more about my situation. I changed my diet in terms of eliminating, the xenoestrogens from my body, in terms of not eating certain things like soy. Soy is the biggest killer, biggest contributor of that. But I know there's other aspects of what also contributes to it in terms of dairy. I mean, trust and believe, I've actually gone through so much transformation in terms of changing my diet so that I'm not eating certain things.
Rose,
but
sorry to cut you there. What you haven't done, you haven't had the supplements. And something we talk about often, and unbeknownst, listen, what you've done so far sounds great. It's that first step. It's what you do in lieu of having the supplementation. But here's the thing, the food you are eating, maybe even some of the best food you're eating, is still void of the nutrition it needs because it's grown in soil that is void of that nutrition, right? So by eradicating those foods, you've taken a step in the right direction. Now to eradicate your problem, you need to give your body the tools it needs to heal that situation. And that's where the supplements come in. So you've got the information, it seems as though you're quite disciplined, and it's obvious that you're driven, right? And if I were you, I'd probably be quite pissed off as well, because of what's happening to you now is likely worse than the condition you went in there before because of scarring, right? But listen.
Absolutely, because when I went in, I had been trying to avoid going back to some type of doctor to have, to try and get rid of the issues. I thought maybe naturally I could get rid of these things on my own.
Yeah.
But it's like, to go to have somebody who, like you said, you put trust in these people, and it's like, now I'm at a point where it's like, you put trust in people who basically cannot give you an answer. All they could tell you is what to do to get rid of the situation at the moment anyway. But in terms of the aftermath, they have no answers, you know? And if this happens or that happens, we don't have an answer to this. So right now I'm in the situation where my doctor is telling me, there's nothing I can really do but just monitor you and make sure you don't end up with cancer. Otherwise, we'll have to take the uterus,
Rose,
which is what I don't want.
Of course. And we don't want that either. None of us on this call want that. You shouldn't want that for yourself. We've got to jump on some other questions. But Rose, let me tell you this now. Look, you need to get on the program. I think you're primed for it. Again, you have enough, it sounds, as the sort of foundational information and understanding of it to know what to do, right? What's missing is the actual supplements. You need to get on the program. That's what you need to do, because anything else you do other than this is going to be some kind of procedure. It's going to be some kind of let's watch it and let's monitor it. They're not sending an RN round to your house to stay with you and monitor you every morning. It's not happening. So when you get the time every 6 months to go to the doctor for 7 minutes, that's when you're going to know. And in 6 months' time, this thing has gotten worse. Oh man, it's the frequency at which you came back. So you need to take the steps now to put yourself in the absolute best position to give your body the tools it needs to heal itself. Nothing else matters.
And where are you located, Rose?
I'm in New Jersey.
All right.
Okay.
All right. And that means that you probably are vitamin D deficient.
On top of that.
On top of everything, right? So here's the thing. We have the Great Black Fibroid Detox, which, we just given it the name detox for marketing purposes, right? But it's a regimen. It's a lifestyle change. It's a constant, right? It's something that the supplementation, unfortunately, supplementation is something that we need daily because of the lack of nutrients in the soil. We're not living in paradise, which is in the Caribbean. We don't live there, where we have an abundance of everything we actually need, where the soil is ripe, the soil is fertile ground. and we can pick them off the trees. Easy, right? But we leave and then we move up north and we deprive ourselves of sunlight, and we live in food deserts. And when, you know, and it's the lifestyles that we lead and the toxic substances that we ingest all the time. We inhale it, you know, it's in everything that we do, and it takes its toll. So when we now say, right, I'm going to cut this out of my diet, I'm going to cut that out of my diet, it's a good, it somewhat slows down the process, but it's not enough, which is why this program, supplementation, is so big. It's the magic. The nutrients are the magic.
Indeed. Rose, listen, we've got to jump to another question. Please stay on the call. If we've got a couple of minutes, we'll come back to you. But that's generally what you need to do. I've put the link in the chat, a direct message to you, and I'll put Deep Vein in there as well, so you know how to get that. Whilst I'm doing that, Dr. Keela, I know you wanted to add a couple of comments to this as well, if you don't mind, please.
I'll be very brief because I see everybody else that has questions. Management of anger and fear are going to be great too, and also shrinking these fibroids. When we're angry and fearful, our cortisol spikes. And cortisol, like estrogen, promotes tumor growth. So if you don't want to promote the tumor growth, anytime you feel pissed off, and I said it like I meant it, because when you feel it, that's how you feel it. Anytime you feel depressed, anytime you feel anxious, anytime you feel fearful, anytime you feel sad, angry, move your body. Because you have to let go of that tension through movement, not just prayer, but actual movement, so that you can realign and reassign your hormones properly so that they are not feeding the wrong things. If you are having problems sleeping at night, you have to, because of stress, being stressed out about anything, particularly this particular situation, you may have to develop a bedtime routine that may take you 90 minutes, where you do the activities that he specifies in the book to relax your body. You do the stretches and whatnot. You change the ambiance of your entire environment to make it conducive to sleep. You, about an hour before bedtime, you consume maybe some fruits or nuts that are high in GABA, which is GABA is a neurotransmitter. Well, they're high in butyrate, which the body converts into GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that calms your entire nervous system down. So that's like walnuts, things like that. You consume really dark cherries because they have the precursor for melatonin in them. They have the L-tryptophan in them. The body will convert it into serotonin and then melatonin. You set yourself up to be the most relaxed person in the world. It might even be that you end up changing certain relationships that are not conducive to your health, and mentally and emotionally, because the whole focus of your existence now has to be correcting this. You'll find that there are certain people and things that are going to go into file 13, meaning the trash, because they have to, otherwise they will kill you. And then do the program like they said. But your stress management is vital to getting rid of this issue. And that is something that Western medicine does not focus on, and they never will unless it's a pill or injection or a patch.
Dr. Keela, really appreciate that. And, you know, guys, I hope you all, as I do, I can speak for myself, really value the level of education and information that's shared on these calls. You know, we're not doing this for fun, you know, and we hope you guys are not taking it for that. We have these recordings, so if you have friends and loved ones that have these conditions and that can't make it to these calls, these are free. They're on YouTube. Our competitors watch our videos. You know how we know? Because our customers or their customers come and tell us that they saw the video, they spoke to them, they told them to come and watch our stuff. Okay? If what we were saying isn't real and doesn't work, they wouldn't be doing that. We're fine with it. You know, we're here for a purpose, Jaja sent us here to do a job. Listen, please don't go. We've got a few minutes left. I'm going to try and get to many questions as possible. We're going to go to the Noel family. Jade, or was that Lloyd? Floyd, I know one of you guys had your hand up. Let's get over to you guys. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. How are y'all doing? Good?
Doing great.
Good.
Nice. Hey, I just got, my question is about food, like ground food. Like sweet potatoes, edibles, and so on. What else? Like dasheen and so on.
All right.
There's good food to take in.
Yes, sweet potatoes are good. They are starch, so you gotta moderate, but make sure they're not Monsanto grown, right? Make sure that the fertilizers are not chemical fertilizers, right? Because you have to understand this web, these tentacles of IG Farben, which is a Nazi company, right? A chemical company that started off as manufacturing poison, right? To kill people. And it developed into a chemical company and then moved into fertilizer and pesticides and what have you. And a lot of regions around the world where there are not standards of, high standards of what's being used as fertilizers and pesticides, they will ship them to these countries with lower regulation standards. So these are where in the West Indies and so and what have you, where you're used to the dasheen and the chocha and all them things there, where these things are good, but what are they growing in now? You have to be cognizant of that, right? Because it affects the actual plants or the actual vegetables, right? Or the fruits. So sweet potatoes are great, right? But just know whether they're organic or conventionally grown, because that can become an issue down the line, right? So stuff that's grown in the West Indies, that's naturally grown, even if it was hybridized over there, usually they're great. As long as the farming, and there are farmers markets that we have here where we can see, by the numbers on the label, starts with a 9, that we know it's organic, right? If it's conventionally grown, but it's something with thicker skin, those plants and fruits that have thicker skins and shells, they tend to push toxins into the shell, into the skin, so the pulp remains, maintains or retains its integrity, as with all its polyphenols and all that stuff. But again, there is the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 that gets released every year, so that it gives you an inkling of what's going on with the agricultural world of conventionally grown foods, as which ones to avoid and which ones are actually safe for you to eat.
Okay. And what about breadfruit and ackee?
Breadfruit is good. Ackee is good.
Okay.
But make sure with like ackee that you do cook your ackee properly.
Be careful with the ackee.
Careful with the ackee.
Yeah.
I heard somewhere that Jamaican ackee is the safest though. I heard that somewhere.
That was BlueMountain.com. It's not, we love Jamaica.com. Hey, I eat Jamaican ackee. It's if I want a scrambled egg, I use ackee. It's a very expensive scrambled egg, but if I ever want that texture, I got unfortunately here in America, you get it in the can or the tin. Do you say tin or can over here? Can.
Can.
But it is. I'm sure in Jamaica you can get it right out the bush.
And what about any kind of mushrooms?
Right. So wait. You're talking about shrooms?
Mushrooms.
All right. So you're talking about. All right. So generally, we don't like people to eat mushrooms, right? But there are high medicinal properties in specific types of mushrooms. There are carcinogenic properties in things like lion's mane and cordyceps and, you know, different types of mushrooms. But the average Joe Schmo, the layperson, don't know one mushroom from the next. It's a mushroom, right? And there are mushrooms that all you're doing is putting fungus into your body. And mushrooms will, you know, they're fungi. Remember that. Mushrooms are fungi. So if you have a condition or you're trying to avoid a condition and you incorporate into your diet at specific times of the day that you consume these things, make sure you know what you have, what mushroom you're taking, and what specific purpose is for. All right?
There's a specific time of day that you shouldn't take it.
Depends.
It depends on your
and also it depends what nutrients you're trying to get. When you become a technician in nutrient therapy, then you can be more, you know, you have a greater scrutiny with what you're putting into your body and when.
But I think, Dr. Amsa, I don't know if you're asking this question, but about the intermittent fasting, right?
Right.
If you eat no sooner than 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, you don't want to go to bed digesting food. You don't want to go to bed with your GI tract in operation, right? You don't want to wake up, right, and start stuffing yourself in your elimination phase, which is why intermittent fasting is so important. So whatever you eat, even if you accidentally or knowingly eat something that's probably not so good for you at 3 in the afternoon, by 5, you're going to know about it, right? Rather than eating that thing at 9 o'clock at night, falling asleep on it, and this thing's working on you over the night. Do you see what I mean? Which is why those windows you eat at during the day, during the sunrise, you know, it varies depending on who you are, but you know, between like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and maybe 7 p.m. in the evening, and it slides around. Ours is between like 4 and 7, that type of thing. Is quite a small window. If you eat in those windows, you're more likely to catch certain things. You're more like, we talked about feedback at the top of the show, and you're more likely to realize the feedback when you give yourselves time between you time you eat and the time you go to bed, right? And even do exercises and things like that. So if you eat in those windows, it doesn't matter what you eat, you're going to know pretty quickly what the feedback is of that thing. So kind of to answer your question, try not to eat after sunset, right? Try not to eat after 8, 9 o'clock. If you have to, maybe some fruit, maybe a tea or something like that, just to sort of, insatiate yourself. But try not to have your body digesting anything after sunset. That tends to help. So regardless what you eat, whether it's mushroom
I don't want to confuse anybody because someone's going to say, well, on your 7-day detox, it says eat after sunset. So I don't want to confuse anybody. Do not eat. You know, you want to have your last time you eat, say before 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock latest. If you go to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, then don't eat after 10 o'clock. Give yourself a good 3 hours before you go sleep. And it depends. Like if you eat fruits, then you're good. Fruits, you know, they have their own enzyme that help to break them down, and you know they're very easy digested and utilized. But if you're doing the sweet potato and some hard food, some starchy things, right? Don't eat that late.
Yeah.
All right. So when we say sunset, like now that we're in summer, sunset is later, like 9, 8:39. So it's like you don't want to really eat after that time, but some people do because they go to sleep at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? But again, in the perfect world, you go to sleep by around 10:30, right? So you don't want to eat later than 7:30.
Is that okay, Floyd?
Okay. What about pepper though? Hot pepper, spicy pepper, like.
All right. So peppers are fruits, right? And you have to regulate. You have to be very careful when you're eating specific types of peppers because of how, depends on the potency. They can wreak havoc in the gut. Right? So, by how hot a pepper is, common sense or God sense, right, is going to let you know, all right, a little bit. So, like we have Scotch bonnet and we have habanero and all that. Them things are so potent a little bit will burn up your mouth. So if it's burning up your mouth, you don't want to put that into your gut like that. So very little amount. In trace amounts, the polyphenols, the nutrient properties are great. And they do have antimicrobial properties as well, right? So, but don't be a big man and try to nyam a whole piece of pepper that's hot, because it will jack you up.
I've tried it.
Put holes in your intestines, and you don't want that.
Yeah, okay. And the last thing is, how about a glass of red wine? That's a violation to the vegan code.
All right, so red wine is good, right? Again, regulate the amount. So a glass of wine, that's red wine, resveratrol, is a very potent nutrient that is antimicrobial. It helps to kill viruses, right? And works wonders for your temperament and your behavior. But again, regulate. Know how much to drink. Like a little glass, it ain't bad. But if you have a whole bottle, because Dr. Amsa say it's all right to drink red wine, so I'm gonna down. No.
Discipline.
There you go. So it's just like everything, everything becomes a poison at a certain threshold.
Because being a vegan and going out and socializing, it becoming like an issue. Everybody, you don't drink this. You don't drink this.
You're killing people's vibe. You're killing the buzz.
Don't do the malt liquor. Don't do the spirits, right? And just get your red wine
and do shots.
And just have the one thing. Babysit that wine for the whole night. For the whole night, you babysit. One glass or two. Just sip on it.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you, once in a while. And if you're eating right and you have the right balance of protein and carbs in your stomach, you'll metabolize that really quickly. One thing I will say though about a lot of wines are no longer produced and fermented over weeks and months and years. These things are being churned out in these big factories, and there's a lot of additives to the wine. You can go and look at yourself, and there's so many warnings on the back of wine bottles. You got all these added sulfates. A lot of them add sugars. A lot of them add animal products to the wine. Then there's all the emulsifiers, and then there's all the preservatives, and there's the worst one, antifreeze. You guys know about antifreeze? So the reason why a lot of wine is stored in massive vats, and it's made in countries where they're in cold climates. Don't think that wine is all made in Provence or even in Southern California. They're made in factories all over the world. So they put antifreeze in the wine so it doesn't freeze, and so it doesn't what's the reverse of coagulation? The reverse, I forget what that is now. So the wine doesn't separate from the water. Antifreeze is poison to human beings. So the problem with a lot of red wine isn't the fact that it's red wine, it's that it's not red wine.
Right.
It's hyper.
It ain't food.
It's alcoholized red stuff.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So if you're going to drink grape juice, right? Grape juice with alcohol added to it. So listen, personally, I don't drink a lot of red wine. I prefer red wine to white, because white wine, I get malaise, I get flu symptoms literally the next day. I might even get mouth sores from white wine. So I'll lean towards red, but a lot of reds have sulfates in it. So what you do, and hear me out, it's going to sound crazy, drink expensive wine.
Yeah.
If you're going to drink, you're going to drive a car, you're going to fly a plane, you're going to wear clothes, you're going to wear leather, top shelf, excellence. Eat the best food, drink the best drink, wear the best clothes. I'd rather have one really high quality pair of jeans than 20 pairs of crap jeans where they're using that. Are you guys familiar with, jeans aren't blue. They're actually, what's the color? Someone's going to remind me in a second.
Denim?
No, the color. Indigo. Thank you, Dr.
All right,
Keogh.
that's it, indigo.
Indigo. Do you know it's the most produced dye in the world? Go and do some research and find out what indigo is made of. Why I'm going with that is that, so if you're going to drink red wine, get really good stuff. Get some French imported that's a vintage, 2-3 years old, and read the back. Try and get sulfate free. if I get a chance, I'll find a link. There's some
and with dried fruit as well.
Dried fruit.
Sulfate free.
There's some sulfate free wines. So if you're going to go a night out and you want to enjoy yourself and not, sort of suffer those side effects, we'll do that. So listen,
Mr. Briggs, that leave you with the option to make the next wine become the next wine producer.
The next wine, we just may do that. You might see breaks with the accent over the E.
Yeah, that's right. See that. Electric wine.
Yes, from Snellville.
Wine.
Exactly. Are you familiar with Snellville? I'll send you the address later on, man. Do you know what I mean? But Floyd, it's a great idea. We're going to take you up on that for sure. Listen, we're going to go to Laverne, but I want to go to Dr. Keela. I think she wanted to jump on what you were saying. Dr. Keela, do you want to add something about food?
Yes, just shortly. A lot of the cuisine in the Caribbean is really African cuisine, and it's based on survival and thriving. So, for instance, piri piri sauce, which is the original salsa, which is basically our ancestors made it to help us fight off not only viral infections, because vitamin C interferes with viral protein assembly, which means it interferes with spreading of the virus cell to cell in the body. But it also has all of these other antimicrobial properties. If you're going to eat piri piri sauce, you want your fruits nearby, because you want to make sure your body has something to balance out the heat so that you don't burn your mouth, you don't burn your stomach. When it comes to, if you eat the piri piri sauce with roasted breadfruit as opposed to fried, that's better, because you're not incorporating oils that have been made carcinogenic. It's not enough to eat the right food. You have to prepare it properly so that your body can maximize opportunities for healing, as opposed to eating the right food prepared poorly, prepared wrongly, will set you up for cancer.
Indeed.
So a lot of us eat patacones, also known in Puerto Rico as tostones. If you can slice those thinly and broil them under the broiler, just maybe for 5 minutes on each side, is better than deep frying them. We really do have to get away from the frituras, from the fried foods, because they don't do us any good.
No. You talking about the plantains, right?
Yeah. So like in Ghana, I think when it's sweet, you call it kelewele.
That's the best food ever.
It is.
It's terrible. It's not good, but it's it's not good. My doctor told me don't eat it, and I nearly slapped her. So that's the only reason I come to Ghana. Fool.
Right. So when you're eating these hot foods, make sure you have high fiber, high vitamin C, naturally sweet fruits around to balance out how your digestive system is going to handle that introduction of potent medicine. Because believe it or not, all the plants we eat, when prepared properly and combined in the right ways, they are all antiviral, and anything antiviral is anti-carcinogenic. Anything antibacterial is also going to be anti-carcinogenic, because bacteria like sugar, just like cancer cells like sugar. If you start thinking about what's on your plate in terms of what is protecting you from, you prepare it differently and you pair it differently.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Keela, always a pleasure. Thank you for that. And it's been a great topic about food. Flo, we love your questions, man. Listen, if we don't go to your sister, we're going to get in big trouble. Miss Laverne, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
We are doing great.
Laverne, did you used to slap Floyd for talking too much when you were youth?
No. No, they always ask me why I ask so much questions. I was the one that asked a lot of questions. I always question.
Oh, he got it from you then.
Look, he's the one that told me about you guys. I keep telling y'all, I didn't believe him when he would tell me about you guys.
Look at that.
Yeah, he used to tell me about the foods I was eating back when I thought I was so healthy.
Right.
That was estrogenic. Now I am in a situation. Never mind. But anyway, so for It's for my program that I'm doing, the Eliminate program. My question is, sometimes I don't take my supplements like based on the time that you have in the book. Does that matter? Does that affect the effectiveness or how it works? Sometimes I end up taking them at night, the last like dose at night.
All right, the dose at night is I have that. If you look in the book, you'll see that's number 1. Before bed is number 1. First AM is number 2. And it's in order of priority.
Oh, I guess I don't know what I was thinking, but I know I looked at that. That's 3 times a day.
3 times a day.
I have to go back.
3 times a day. So the third time is basically whenever, right? But the 1 and 2 are the most important. So at night, right? Remember, somebody sent a question asking, what's the significance, what's the relevance of the sublingual? It goes straight into your bloodstream. When something goes straight into your bloodstream, it's utilized, right? It's utilized more immediately, right? It bypasses the digestive tract and can be utilized by the organs and tissues where it's needed. When you take something at night, your cells, melatonin slows down cells. Our cells have protective walls, and they are basically activated or deactivated via mitochondria. So our mitochondria is the energy of a cell, but the spin of our mitochondria determines how permeable, how easily permeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cell walls are, right? So at night, melatonin slows down mitochondria and allows cellular respiration to take place. That is to allow in nutrients that you've appropriated during the day. So we call this the assimilation cycle, right? Mm-hmm. So melatonin slows you down. It's the calming thing, and it slows down how the frequency of your cells. So your cells are highly charged, and they're less permeable during the daytime, during the serotonin cycle. But during cellular respiration, now if there's any toxins in the cell, it means that they can release the toxins, but they also let in the nutrients. So at night, when you take the supplements before bed, you have potent, readily available nutrients to get into the cells, right? First thing in the morning, you need a boost, right? So there's
I don't do that. I always end up doing like around 10:30, 11 when I take the first.
So when is the last time you do it during the day?
I just was taking them because I forgot, and I was thinking.
So it's better that you do first thing in the morning, right, and then last thing at night than you do first thing and then during the day. But your body's still getting the nutrients, but it's how much absorption there is, how much utilization, nutrient retention rate.
I'm up in the morning, and so what I'm thinking around 8, 9 o'clock.
That's cool. You can do it. You can take them 9, 10 in the morning, but you want to take them when your body is winding down, because cells are more it can get into the cell. Your cells become more permeable.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. I was like, I should not be taking, I don't know, I have to go back to my book and look at it. Because when I come from the gym, I get home from the gym around 10 o'clock. Then I would take it.
In the morning?
I come. Huh?
In the morning?
No, at night.
Oh, at night. All right. So you're a night gym person.
Yeah, I go twice a day. I go for half an hour, like around 2, 3 o'clock, and do Stairmaster. Then I go in the afternoon at 9, 8:30-ish and start and do toning. So that's just to avoid the crowd in the gym. I don't like it, but I do that to avoid the crowd during the early afternoon.
And it's and this is the thing, if you work out, especially in the evenings, right? So you may rip muscle and whatnot, and it improves your recovery as well. Right after you work out, before you go bed, that you take those nutrients, so they help to repair torn muscle fibers.
Okay, so that's what I do. And you kind of answered the question with the 7-day fast, because I'm getting ready to start it on Sunday. You said because that was like sunset in the summertime is like 8:30.
Right.
8:30. I don't want to wait till then to eat any fruit. So when I eat I'm thinking eating after 6, not waiting until like.
Yeah, as long as you give yourself that 22, 23 hour of fasting, and it's not during elimination cycle. So if you want to eat for your first time at 4, 5, it's cool. But just make sure you don't eat anything until the following day.
Okay, so that's with the 7-day food fast. Okay, I see. All right. Well, yeah, those were my questions, because I don't want to do a 14-day right now again. So I'm going to do the 7 days and see how that can help.
Okay.
With my process and progress. Yeah. So when I go back September, they can tell me what's going on. All right. Thank you.
All right, Laverne.
Thank you, Laverne. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
And you got all your supplements, right?
Yeah, I did. I got it. I got so like right now I have 2 digests, but I said thank you for my birthday present anyway.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laverne. Listen, guys, I was going to apologize to people on IG, but the IG's gone down. YouTube's still up. Listen, thank you for all of your questions, all of your support, everyone that joined the call and contributed. Thank you, Dr. Keeler, as always, and everyone else, of course. I think most people on the call, I recognize most names. There's a few new people. If you're new here, please go to the YouTube channel, YouTube/The Great Black Detox. Make sure you subscribe to that channel, click on notifications, like and share, look at some past videos, leave some comments. We really appreciate that. Visit the website. And if you have any health conditions, even if you don't have a condition, and that's something else, we'll do a whole new thing about that, about the paradigm is, and I understand why a lot of people think that if they have a condition or it's gone to a point where the condition is unbearable, then they turn to us. They wouldn't be there if they had the supplementation and the lifestyle as their general habit, right? As their general lifestyle in the first place. You avoid a lot of these things. And this is really the education we're putting out there. We don't really want to be putting out fires, right? We want to be, managing the brush, as it were, if you know, bushfire terminology. So that's what's really about. We really are trying to evangelize a lifestyle, and we really appreciate you guys for coming on. Don't be shy. Reach out to us. I send an email out in the week. You can reach us via social media. So Instagram, The Great Black Detox. On Facebook, The Great Black Detox. support@greatblackdetox.com is our email address. And on our website, on the bottom right-hand corner of our website, there's a little symbol there. There's a chat. You can ask us questions through the chat and we get back to you. All of them come back to myself, Dr. Amsu, and the rest of our team as well. So you have no excuse for yourself or your loved ones to not get in contact with us. Get this supplementation, get this lifestyle change, heal yourself so we can heal our communities. Dr. Amsu, talk to me.
All right. There's nothing else to add. We've got to get out of here, mate. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Dr. Keeler. Thank you, Moses, for the work you guys are doing. Thank you, Laverne. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Laverne. I didn't know it was your birthday. There you go.
And
thank you. Yeah.
To everybody else who's on here, thank you for coming in. We're here to service you all.
Lastly, for the next day or 2 or 3, I don't know, there's the sale. Is it still on? 25% off, July 25 at checkout. So if you're considering getting something, now's the time, because 25% off is significant.
Up until July 31st, or August the 1st, midnight.
Okay, there you go. So up until right by payday, the most important thing. So listen, get that supplementation, even if you're not going to start for a while. I know, Rochelle, you're saying, oh, well, you already got yours, Rochelle, so you know all about it. But if you're contemplating it, stop contemplating. Stop procrastinating with your health. Nobody plans to get sick, and when it's stage 4, we will try and help you, but we prefer to help you when it's stage 0 to alleviate all the other stages. So listen, guys, we're sending love to you each and every week. Happy healing, safe healing. Tell your friends, man, evangelize this, and we shall see you next week, same time, same place. Peace out.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah.